Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to our today's roundtable discussion on ecosystem blueprint collaboration for circular future. On behalf of CARE Bangladesh, we extend our warm appreciation for your presence today. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Ramesh Singh, our Regional Asia Country Director, for his welcome speech. Mr. Ramesh Singh.
Thank you, Seema. Good morning, everybody, and people who have been there on the day one. Welcome back again, and our new guests who are part of this round table. Very warm welcome to all of you. As we can see, there is a very diverse and very august panel, and we are looking forward to have a very rich discussion. And we see quite a good mix of from impact investment to bankers to industry, and that's the testimony that this is a very timely discussion. Yesterday, just to reminiscence, we had discussion around increasing role of private sector, and not to talk about the gap, but how to funding gap, etc., but to really capture as a nation, as a country, the energy, the innovation of private sector, which has been tapped into for many years with the collaboration between NGOs and the private sector. But that has not led to the full potential. There is a huge kind of opportunity and potential for doing the work that is basically a win-win. I think we are going to talk today about the circular economy and given kind of the unique positioning of Bangladesh today in terms of like its imminent graduation to the middle income countries is just a matter of time, and also the vibrant private sector, very agile private sector, very adaptive private sector. At the same time, demographic dividend that we are talking about. That's a small window right now that we need to capture on. And we yesterday talked about the future of work and climate adaptive agriculture in some of the panel discussions later on, and how all that comes together. That adaptive sort of industry would need an adaptive workforce as well. So having that demographic dividend is only as good as we are able to forecast the skills and prepare that accordingly. And that's a moot sort of issue of the day, that how we adapt, how we kind of proactively work on that. Today's meeting, this roundtable, is also about, I would say, that what is streaming down from yesterday, the gleaned information. Some of the panelists would be, roundtable participants would be able to talk about, is how to, basically there are many pieces, how we bring it together, that we move into action. And I can see already that this round table should not be one of the round tables that we talk and we move on to the next round table, but rather having some sort of understanding and follow up already in our mind that how we are going to work together, or next meeting or next deal or next sort of agenda, or for refining this. So this is at a really important juncture, as we see in the backdrop the diminishing interest of the donor countries and the donor portfolios, and the vibrancy of the economy here in Bangladesh, and how that is able to. Yesterday we had the governor of bank. It's like how we can raise our own sort of revenue collection, that we can develop pathways to take care of development needs of the citizen of Bangladesh. And so all at center, I would say, and close it from my side, my welcome speech, is that at the heart of everything, I think creating more jobs, whether wage or whether it's a wage employment or a self-employment, that is the key task at that we all, when we talk about the circular economy, that brings in a very complex design from the climate change perspective, green jobs, digital jobs, everything together, and creates an ecosystem for developing a circular economy and strengthening further the circular economy. So I am looking forward to really get educated by all of you, who brings in tons of experience from varied institutions and walks of life. You all are experts, and your experience would be really, really valuable for us at Care Bangladesh, not only Care Bangladesh, but our partners and everybody else in the social sector in Bangladesh. So um, we look forward to a very rich discussion. Thank you, and warm welcome everybody again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramesh Singh, Asia Regional Director. And it's really important, and he highlighted the importance of this discussion. And we look forward for actually have a sustainable future in our country, and we want to really co-create and collaborate. So to discuss more on that, I would like to invite Mr. Ramji, our country director, to give a glimpse of yesterday's discussion and invite our keynote speakers to share a few of salient features of their presentation. So I'm handing over to Ramji. So, thank you.
Thank
Ramji.
you. Thank you, Siva. Good morning, business and development leaders of Bangladesh. It's so like inspiring to have you in the room. And yesterday we had such rich exchange of ideas. So we, as Ramesh ji said, we are going to take this forward. I'm now going to hand over and introduce formally. This event was possible because of very strong collaboration with two well-known partners and players in the market systems in the development sphere of Bangladesh. That is, one is Devlan Consulting Services. So I'm very happy to invite Naeem Kashim, who is the founder and managing partner of Devlan. Thank you, Naeem. And so, as most of you know, Naeem is an experienced market systems expert working in this domain for several years. So he's one of our closest consultants in taking this forward. Also, Light Castle Partners, as all of you know, Light Castle Partners also is one of our technical collaborators for organizing this event. So I invite Miskat Arif, Senior Business Consultant at LCP as well. And experienced project manager, Miskat has supported startups and businesses in the last several years in Bangladesh. So to guide this very rich and experienced panel discussion forward, I would hand it over to Miskat and Naeem to take this forward. Thank you. Naeem, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome you all. Can I have a round of applause for all the panelists who are here, and also for the audience? Thank you so much. It's been an amazing, amazing journey since last year and a half, I would say, not just from yesterday. Since a year and a half, we started engaging with Care Bangladesh, and we started talking about how do we think about engaging the private sector? How do we support the private sector? And Ram had a brilliant presentation yesterday, and he'll speak a little bit more to that today. But the main message there is how he puts it as a double trouble, where the aid money is shrinking, and at the same time, we're not necessarily doing great in most of the economic indicator, social indicator, and different type of global indicators out there. Of course, we're progressing, we're improving, but we have a bit of a trouble in terms of how the global scenario is evolving. So the question is, how do we engage as an organization, CARE, can move beyond working in the humanitarian sector, which is extremely important and extremely needed, and that will continue. But if we think about more long-term sustainable growth, how do we engage with the private sector? So this journey started a year and a half ago, and we are here today with a couple of trusted leaders in Bangladesh who have demonstrated examples, who have demonstrated with clear initiatives on the ground that they really mean not just business, but business for the people. And that's where we are all about. What we're trying to do today is trying to gather some knowledge, information, and understanding, and opportunities where CARE can support you to continue growing your business, at the same time thinking about how does it contribute to the growth of Bangladesh, and how do we address all these challenges that is coming forward. So that's kind of like the overall purpose of today's roundtable discussion. I will now hand over to Ram first to present some of the key points that was presented yesterday. Over to you, Ram.
Thanks, Naeem. It's, as you rightly said, it's very important to set the tone or the background for today's discussion. So we had very rich discussion yesterday, 4 panels. So I'm going to cover the first panel, which was a leadership panel, which we had the privilege, honor of having the Honorable Governor of the Bangladesh Bank, as well as several business leaders, who also some of them are in this room today. So, so the first panel delved into the development context of the country. So I'm going to speak some key takeaways for my session, so to set the background of what we discuss. So as all of you know, Bangladesh is transitioning out of least developed country status in just over a year. And it's a moment of celebration, but there is also a moment of a bit of caution, which many business leaders are also highlighting, and I read that in one of the leading business, the dailies of this country. So the graduation will come with a price, which is basically the end of preferential trade access and tariffs going up, and so on and so forth. But also at the same time, we have this what you call the global development assistance also going down over the next few years. By 2027, there is a kind of a projection that the global development assistance will go down by $1 billion each year. So as this kind of gives a picture, very grim picture, but also there's an opportunity here. That's what we call that this cliff edge, like we are on the cliff edge, but this can be turned into a kind of a launch pad for growth and progress. If you look at, as Naeem remembered, this double trouble which I spoke about one is the global development assistance, which is going down. Last year, it fell by 7%, more than 7%. And this year is projected to go down 9 to 17%. So this is happening after 75 years of, in this region we haven't had this data. 75 years is happening for the first time. And as you all know, Bangladesh is in the top 5 countries which receives the ODA, the 5 top recipients of ODA. The second part which I'm going to talk about is the Human Development Indices. If you look at HDI, if you look at the Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index, if you look at gender inequality, if you look at the income inequality, Gini coefficient in terms of that, if you look at social progress index, if you look at all these indices, we are ranking 121, the 121st position out of 162 countries. So we are also lagging behind basically our Southeast and South Asian country neighbors as well. So the issue is not development here, this is also a business issue. So we are looking at low human development means low productivity. If you look at in business terms, it's low productivity for the country. And when you are talking about gender inequality, you are basically saying that we are wasting 50% of a talent pool. So rising inequality will mean weaker consumer demand, and the private sector, when they play a critical role in improving these indices of the country, they are also rising themselves up. So if you look at Bangladesh as it stands today in terms of these these indices or the human development indices as compared to its neighbors, it's doing exceedingly, is at par or at least better than some of the indicators than India. But if you look further southeast, like basically Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, the story is a bit different. A lot of these indices are actually much lower. Basically, if you look at education, skills, gender empowerment, social progress, it's lagging behind some of the Southeastern partners. So when we are aiming to be a, sorry, my Siri is picking up, sorry. Intrusive technology. So, so as we are, when you're aiming at a situation where we are going to graduate from LDC, what Bangladesh is aiming at an investor-friendly global competitive economy. Now, if you are lagging behind your neighbors, then we are losing, we are actually running the risk of losing on critical investments, global investments. So if you know that, as you all know from you are from the business community, global rankings, these global rankings are usually taken into consideration as proxy indicators for political stability, for economic stability, for workforce skills, for market size, growth potential, for investment, so on and so forth. So it's very important for investors. So the message is, what I'm going to trying to give is very simple, that we must aim higher in investing in education, skills, and inclusive growth if we want to close this gap with our neighbors at least. Now, we are tackling these four major problems when talking about human development indices or other indicators of progress. Bangladesh is faced with four major issues or problems. First is access to finance. Many of you know 11,000 people have access to only one commercial bank in this country. So that actually constrains growth and access to finance, and finance inclusivity also gets affected. If you look at food insecurity, 35 million, that is 1 in 5 Bangladeshis experience moderate to severe food insecurity. You know, when you're talking about food insecurity, it also means that it erodes the labor productivity, heightens risk of poverty, and threatens the stability of markets. The third one is youth unemployment. Overall, the unemployment rate in the country is 4%. But if you look at youth unemployment is 4 times, it's 16.8%. To add to that, there's a mismatch of jobs and skills. Last but not the least, we are 173rd among 181 countries in terms of climate vulnerability. So we run the risk of losing up to 11% of our land to rising seas, and when you are talking about all these aspects, it means it impacts supply chains, impacts infrastructure, it impacts investments, it impacts productivity, and so on and so forth. So it's basically private sectors. For private sector, tackling these four challenges is not a responsibility only, but as is an opportunity. Now there's, when you come to private sector investments and working with the development partners, we always talk about CSR. Now, the Bangladesh bank alone actually spent around 500 million US dollars on CSR from 2020 to 2024. However, if you, all of you know, the bulk of the CSR fund is used in ad hoc donations to different entities, to disaster relief funds, and so on and so forth. There's an opportunity for the CSR fund to have long-term investments to create business and social value. So this is where the inclusive sustainable financing, ISF, comes in. Rather than getting into CSR, can we invest that into climate smart agriculture, green manufacturing, vocational skilling? So experiences globally has seen that such kind of investments has actually triggered companies having stronger brand presence, deeper customer relationships, and more sustainable long-term profitability. So this is a definite link of business profits to stability around this. Now, yesterday some of the panelists also discussed on the regulatory environment. So in terms of business readiness, Bangladesh ranks 29 out of 50 pilot countries, as said in the World Bank report. We are a very robust RMG sector, but that's just the beginning of the story. I think such new sectors coming up, ICT, logistics, digital finance, light engineering, renewable energy, they are the new growth engines of the country. Can the regulatory environment be much better, more predictable, more supportive to have this business grow and investments, let private sector invest in these kind of environment? That is one question which, there are several models which are available, which globally, which shows that how different actors, government, corporates, private sector, civil society, NGOs, microfinance institutions can come together to build that ecosystem. And that is exactly what CARE actually tries to bring in, a CARE advisory facility, which will make sure that we are supporting corporates, MSMEs, startups, government institutions to combine the inclusive practices for business-driven solutions. I will end with this. I don't want to get into detail of what services we'll be bringing in. Maybe at the end we can come to that. But given this scenario, we are proposing that can CARE become a possible, viable facilitator partner to create this strong ecosystem of collaboration in this country. Thank you. Naeem, back to you. If there are any other questions, I'll come back later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Thanks so much. Thanks for that wonderful speech. At this stage, I'd like to give floor to some of the senior team members, management team members of CARE who presented yesterday on 3 different topics. So it would be great for us to kind of hear them, that what were the key points that was discussed yesterday, and that would be the basis of our discussion today. So I'd like to give floor to Mrityunjay Dash, who's one of the senior members of the CARE team member, and his presentation yesterday was a lot about green financing and the challenges about climate change and environment. So over to you.
Hello. কাজ করে। Thank you, Noim bhai. So, yeah, so this particular session, tackling green financing, catalyzing circularity and climate transition was actually a continuation of the leadership panel. So, of course, in this session, we focused on the climate challenges especially uh, with regard to our vulnerability and the challenges we are facing, and also some of the opportunities which we can cash on. So, of course, if you want to figure out what climate change is costing us, uh, currently, it's like we are losing 1% of our GDP in the last 1 decade or so. But this might not be seem very alarming for many of us. But if we focus on midterm projection, for example, ADB this year has projected that we're going to lose up to 70% of our GDP if we move on, if the globe move on the business as usual, high emission scenario. So that could be catastrophic. If you take a midpoint, it could be 30% of our GDP by 2070. So, and then of course, the linear economic practices we are following, Rama talked about this, that's not only, that's not very conducive for circular economy. It's mostly, for example, there are like 30,000 tons of waste nationally every day. And if you only talk about Dhaka, there are 646 tons of plastic waste only, and only 1/3 of is being recycled. So 2/3 of the plastic waste remains, unmanaged. And in terms of climate finance, the government projects that we need $12.5 billion up to 2050 per year. And now, how much we can manage? If you look at 2023, 2024 annual development plan, we are hardly managing 30% of the climate finance we need. So there is a 70% deficit. And this is really heartening to see that especially the bank and non-banking sectors are coming up. If you compare their green finance and sustainable finance portfolio between 2022 and 2024, they have really improved. In 2024, 34 banks and 8 financial institutions, kind of surpassed their green financing target. 30 banks and 13 non-banking financial institutions have surpassed sustainability finance target, which is 20%, of their target. So this is good. So these are good signs. However, as you heard from our CD, that there is likely a ODA cut of $1 billion per year. This means that if you look at a midterm scenario, 2030, 2035, still we will have this 70% deficit for a climate responsive development. And of course, the CSR we are having, only 7% of the CSR are actually going to climate. It is 2022 data, of course. It might have increased a bit. So what we see, this is an opportunity, because if you look at the funding gap, if the private sector and the banking sector especially, if they go for environment-friendly sustainability projects, it will not only benefit the country, but it will also serve their business interests, because they are also losing, and they will lose more if they continue the current path. We also talked about some of the global compliance things, especially the International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS Standard 1 and 2, and which has, of course, 2 categories, sustainability and climate. And they have actually asked the financial institutions to govern, strategize, manage their risk, and also report their targets and performance, in terms of sustainability and climate. So we see this is a big opportunity, because it's not only for them to follow. If they want to follow this, they need to lend and invest in a way that it follows these standards. So there is huge scope that we build on that. And as I said, that when we see that initiatives like textile waste recycling that's happening in the country, there is a renewable energy drive, and also which is also generating carbon credits, and we also see that the CSOs and private sector has joined hand even for adaptive agriculture, building value chains, market linkages, so and so. So this is why we talked and the panel kind of agreed that we can look for a ecosystem innovating capital trust and policy where the corporate can offer capital innovation and market access, which they are offering, of course. And of course, we can leverage government's policy and supportive policies and tools and fiscal tools. And of course, we as CARE, I think we can offer co-design business models to tap global adaptation and mitigation funding opportunities. And we can also facilitate some of the sustainability and climate-related, planning and reporting, as I gave some example. And of course, we can support green growth with the, green human resource development and with system strengthening. And finally, of course, the care advisory facility we talked about, of course, and we think that we can offer this partnership through the care advisory facility. Thank you. That was the gist of what we have discussed.
Thank you, Joy Bhai. Thanks so much for your speech. I'd like to hand over the floor to Maruf Bhai, Maruf Azam, to talk about future of work.
Thank you, Naim Bhai. So yesterday, followed by the lunch, we had a vibrant panel discussion on the future of work of Bangladesh. We had representatives from the private sector, from international supporting organizations like ILO, also from the development sector, and some industry leaders over there. So mostly the first discussion starts with the context, and the context is very clear. So underemployment or unemployment, skill mismatching, this is very visible when we go out of the road. When we see the news portal, we can realize the context. We talked about the population, like about half of our population is unemployed at the moment, and half of the women population is not in education, employment, or training. Those who are employed, they are mostly doing some labor-intensive engagement, and with the rise of automation and artificial intelligence, most of these jobs are at risk. So we talked about, there were RMG leaders, and they talked about like 200,000 jobs will be at risk within a couple of years with the rise of automation. Then we come to the GDP point of view, the contribution of private sector to this economy, also the TVET education. So in last few decades, the GDP of Bangladesh has been increased by around 20 folds. Right now it is 437 billion in 2023, and 80% of GDP is contributed from the private sector. But on the opposite side, if we look at the job opportunity, so the opportunity for job has been increased by only 70% within this 40 years. As private sector is the driving engine for this economy, so they have to come up with more jobs. They have to come up with more opportunities for the youth. On the other side, if we look at the youth, actually only 3% of them are right now engaged in the TVET education, and the global standard is more than 25%. So we are lagging much more behind. And there is a big perception mismatch between the supply side and the demand side. So when we talk to the youth, we find that there are less opportunities, there are nepotism, there are many other things which are actually barriers for them. But on the other hand, when the employers talked in the panel, they said that the skill mismatch, job readiness, soft skill, higher order thinking, these are the barriers that they see. So we found that actually there is a clear gap. The gap is within the perception and trust. And someone needs to be there to bridge this gap. We talked about our experience from CARE. Like we have 75 years of experience in this land, and we are not operating here, we are operating in hundreds of more countries. So from that experience and from the experience of the other panel members, some of the phased approaches were not prescribed, but it was discussed. So number one, we discussed about the aspiration mapping. So we need to set a right pathway for our youth, where they are most best fit, where they should move. And then the whole ecosystem should be demand driven. So the employers, they must come up with a solution how to how to address this skill gap among the people and the supply and the demand. So we talked about Youth Future Lab, some local Youth Future Lab at the industrial zones, initiated by the employers and supported by development friends from our side. So we can jointly develop some Youth Future Lab for skill building of the youth to make them job ready to engage in those industries. And if we talk, when we talked about the scale and sustainability of this, actually we talked like there are thousands of training service providers in Bangladesh who are also struggling. So public-private partnership could be a model. In the longer run, if these Youth Future Labs can be transformed into public-private model, partnership model, with the support of NSDA, BTEB, BMET, those departments and organizations, it can be a good fit and it can sustain for long. At the same time, we talked about the coordination mismatch between the government departments. So there needs to be some sort of synergy among them. The National Skill Development Authority, Bangladesh Technical Education Board, and also the Department of Youth Development. So there should be some sort of collaboration and synergy among them to move the whole ecosystem. And lastly, we talked about the care advisory facility that Ramji just mentioned. So we are ready to act in this game as a player, as a vital player, as a facilitator. So with our support, we can support the corporates to extend their supply chain, to find new markets, to support the base of the pyramid customers. We are ready to support the startups by financial inclusion, by building their business model. And we are ready to facilitate the government as well by supporting in their policy making and policy reform. So that's the gist of our yesterday's discussion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I'd like to hand over the floor to Mehrul Islam and talk about climate smart agriculture.
Naim bhai, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Shubho Shukal. Yesterday we had a session on cultivating change and smart agriculture and agriculture innovation. And I think the discussion started with that agriculture remains to be one of the main drivers of growth in Bangladesh. And we know that we are contributing about 11%, 12% around the GDP, but also in terms of workforce, 45%, employed in agriculture. And agriculture continues to remain important for food security and nutrition as well. So that is one of the discussion. But I think one of the points that it was highlighted that although the growth in agriculture has not been as we expected to, but climate change is a very important factor which is going to continue to impact on agriculture growth and value chain and business around the country as well. So I think we just wanted to remain conscious about that climate change is going to impact and what we can do for that. In terms of market fragmentation and post-harvest loss, I think it is so important to note that, we are doing in many crops very good production, but the post-harvest loss is significant, which is started from 15%, and in some crops we have seen up to 40%. For example, we talked about in banana, that the post-harvest loss is about 45%, 40%, which is very significant. So I think that is one of the points that we need to talk about. In terms of mechanization, as we grow from sustainable farming towards business, I think we need to talk about mechanization. We are doing well, but only in terms of transplantation, but not around the other higher value chains around processing and so on. So there is an immense opportunity about mechanization as well. Once again, one of the things that we talked about access to finance, and which needs to be improved, and particularly probably the conditions of access to finance. And remoteness to rural communities as well. So I think we also need to around that. We also talked about the fields of fortune. We are an agriculture country, and we have plenty of opportunities. And we have seen that the GIS mapping around agriculture and value chain identified 25 hotspots for business in terms of agriculture, agro processing, and value chain improvement as well. So there is tremendous opportunities there. I think the other point I just wanted to highlight here, yesterday we did that. We also mapped out the movers and local champions in agriculture and value chain. And I think আপনারা যদি সবাই একটু তালি দেন আমাদের জন্য, because we are doing phenomenal job. We have identified that we have done wonderful job around seed and input, around agro-food processing, horticulture, IT-enabled retail, agri-tech, fintech, and multi-brands as well. But I think the opportunity is huge. So we need to kind of continue to move forward to that. I think finally we talked about the agriculture care advisory facility as well. And I just wanted to sum up the discussion of the panel study. We had a wonderful panel from SCI, Airseeds, Syngenta, FOE, and Metal as well. So just to sum up the discussion, that agriculture will continue to be one of the main drivers of growth in this country. The second point, that if we really continue to keep the momentum of agriculture growth, which is going to be significant, building resilience is very, very important. Building resilience is not about agriculture system. It's actually overall ecosystem, what we talked about. And innovation is going to be central in that. The other point, it came out in the discussion yesterday, and we are all talking about we are a young nation till 2036. And therefore, bringing women and youth in the overall development process is central and critical. And if you are not able to do that, we will not be able to move forward and what we want to expect to that. The youth is going to be a significant contributor to overall growth and economy. I think one of the other points that we talked about in kind of agriculture and value chain growth and development, there are some policy issues as well. We talked about VAT. Mijanma is here as well around some of the policies, so we need to talk about that. Access to finance, and once again, the governor highlighted that the digital financing is going to be crucial in terms of leading it forward. So I think that's what we also need to talk about. We also talked about ESG and agriculture and value chain, and I think that is an area that we need to continue to work together, collaborate together. And finally, that if we really want to take the growth of agriculture and value chain and business, then we will have to work together. And the point was that by adopting an ecosystem approach, we must collaborate and work hand in hand. And if we are able to work together, then we'll be able to reach our mission and goal and overall growth of the country. And care advisory service can work with corporates, SMEs, and government, and can be a catalyst and support to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So this kind of ends the presentation session, and we'll now dive into the roundtable discussion. This table has so many diverse topic and expertise. It's very hard to manage in 1 hour to kind of have this conversation. So what we'll do is we'll divide the conversation into 3 distinct topics. The first topic would be access to finance and financial inclusion, primarily talking about green financing. And not just for the small businesses, but we're talking about large businesses, because they create a lot of jobs and there are a lot of efficiencies that can be improved there as well in terms of accessing green finance. So the first topic would be about green financing and access to finance. The second topic we'd like to discuss is about improving the supply chains, especially about food security, especially within the agriculture sector. And we have representation of a lot of emerging and top agribusinesses in Bangladesh in the panel today. So the next topic would be about discussing how to improve supply chain, what are the leakages there. As Bhaiya was mentioning, that there are a lot of post-harvest loss in certain commodities and products, how to manage that. And then finally, the third topic would be about the driving force of job creation in Bangladesh, the garment sector, and there's a lot of opportunity in circularity in that particular sector as well. And then obviously globally speaking, there are many challenges and opportunities. So we'll focus on the third topic would be about workforce development, improved supply chain as well, and business operations and efficiency in the government sector. And in all three topics, what we would like to gather from you, your perspective of, in the next 3 to 5 years, what are the big challenges that you foresee, and in a tangible way, how Care Advisory Facility can be your partner in solving those problems. So let's start with access to finance and green financing. My first question would be to you, Javed Noor Bhai. The big question is about this topic about green financing. We hear a lot about it. We have great examples from big Bangladesh corporates who have accessed green financing. What I would like to hear from you is, in your experience and IDLC's experience, how do you address this topic within the organization? What are the challenges do you foresee from the financial institution side and also from the businesses and the entrepreneurs side in accessing green financing? And how do you think Care Advisory Facility could support in that initiative?
Thank you
Over to
first to Care for arranging this session and inviting me. The key issue here for green financing is the, how do I say, preparedness of the corporates and their access to knowledge. The way we see that the awareness issue is the biggest bottleneck. We probably are the largest recipient of green financing, refinancing scheme from Bangladesh Bank. While we have submitted many applications and we speak to a lot of large corporates, the key issue here is that whether they're aware the ways and the tools to basically bank on or to adopt. So in many cases, we educate them. We see the opportunities for intervention. Then we basically bring them to the Bangladesh Bank refinancing scheme. And for that, what we had to do, we had to establish a dedicated green financing desk. So in our organization, what we also did is basically, it's for the customers, and in our case, we measured our carbon footprint in our office through the financing that we do. We set our targets, and basically we're gradually moving to, I think the target is basically by 2050 to net zero. So in one word, it's the awareness. It's not expensive in a longer term. It's the approach. If you're aware, you can basically avail it, and probably it will be cost efficient. So my advice to Care Advisor is basically to raise awareness. If the larger corporates are aware, probably they will push down the same to their value chain, which is basically their the SMEs and the MSMEs. So you can't do it alone. You need support from your suppliers and your off-takers as well. So that's what is my take. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for raising the point of creating that awareness point. At this stage, I'd like to give the floor to Bito Piapa, kind of reflect on the same question about accessing green financing as this issue about raising awareness. For you, my question is slightly different. It's not just about raising awareness, but it's also about how different products are designed at the financial institution's end, and to which extent, in your experiences, there is understanding from the client side about the accessibility and the design of different products, and which has been successful so far in Bangladesh.
Thank you. Again, thanks to CARE for arranging a very informative and timely conference for these 2 days. I think it will be very important for us to take away from these discussions and implement them. As to the question, I think first and foremost, institutions like Standard Chartered, who are actually commercial banks, when we work with clients, we design their financing solutions. Basically, we co-create it for the client's needs, and every financing solution, it's not off the shelf really, it's designed and customized for the customer or the client who approaches us. in terms of, whether there is awareness or not, it is also a matter of the readiness of the clients, whether they are willing to conform to the guidelines when it comes to green financing, because that brings with it a different set of do's and don'ts. A lot of governance issues come into play, and a lot of monitoring and evaluation also comes into play from the bank side. When we're financing, we're just not giving the funds, but we need to keep in touch with the client and see that the funds and the project is going how it should be. So we see some challenges in terms of application or uptake of green financing products when these bindings come into play. And Bangladesh Bank has been playing a very important role here with their policies and procedures, and they have also, I think, becoming much more stringent in terms of governance and reporting when it comes to these. You also asked about specifically the construct of the products. So we do have certain off-the-shelf products which are standardized, but as I said, I think it is very important that the clients understand and are ready to commit to the framework, green financing framework that we set forth. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Bitupiappa. I do have a follow-up question because you raised a very important point about monitoring. And in my experience, and Devlin have been working with British Investment Fund, BII, to set up an M&E framework for their fund managers to track, especially on the green financing space. And this has been a very big challenge for us. And it's very expensive as well. The transaction cost for monitoring is quite high, and it's very complicated. What's your experience in that space, and any advice for care advisory facility to work in that space? Is it something interesting? Is it something lacking in Bangladesh?
I must say that I'm not the right person because I don't deal with this directly from our bank. But I think for monitoring, what we do is, especially when we do small project, community-led projects, and we do it from our CSR fund, we have third-party institutions who are experts in monitoring and impact evaluation. But you're absolutely right, it is expensive. But I think we'll have to strike a balance between the quality of the monitoring, because it has to be extensive, it has to be based on real-time data, and there has to be a lot of feet on the ground. So we need people going to very remote areas, especially for the green financing one. So if we actually want the real scenario to come up, we have to invest, but it is expensive till now. It can be made better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to give the floor to Ashikul Alam from HSBC. Just to building on one point Bitupiappa mentioned about community-level green projects. I'd like to understand a little bit more about a multinational bank as HSBC, who has focused on wholesale lending. That's been the core focus for HSBC and other multinational banks as well. So how do you really see a multinational bank who's working in the wholesale space kind of expanding their portfolio to more community-led green opportunities?
Membai, thank you. We have like two separate wings for it, right? One is the financing that we do, which is our bread and butter, the business that we do. And another part is our corporate sustainability, which is our mostly entails our philanthropic funding, right? So from our philanthropic funding, we do engage in a lot of community-led projects. And I'm proud to say that CARE Bangladesh is a partner in one of our projects that we're doing right now in Satkira. On the wholesale side, we also do community-led funding, but we do not have that expertise. Say, for example, a bank like HSBC, which operates in a very, I won't say limited scale, but in a very geographically limited space, I would say. So what we do is we reach to the end borrower through our MFI partners. We do it through on-lending, and that has proven to be very effective. So we don't need everyone to do everything. There are specialists, and we can leverage on each other's expertise to actually reach the end borrower and make it an effective funding.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Effective funding, which is an interesting concept and very important one for all the financial institutions. So I guess on that note, I'd like to give the floor to Abdul Momin Bhai, who manages the largest SME portfolio in Bangladesh. So I'd like to hear your thoughts and experience about how do you manage this effective funding model at the same time has a target of reaching out to a lot of SMEs. How do you manage that? What are the key factors?
Um, First of all, thank you for inviting me. A lot of insights because uh, uh, unlike my colleagues of Standard Chartered and HSBC, we do work directly with the people on the ground. And so I think in terms of funding, we do a lot of impactful work, so which attracts foreign funding naturally. So we like I am a special, or the BRAC bank is specializes in small business financing. So our funding mechanism mostly, like our fund, 50% of our assets are in SMEs, and 30% in corporate, 20% in retail. So that is how the funding mix of the bank is. But the subject that I've been listening to since morning, it's more of a challenges that the small businesses, how to get access to the funds. So I think on that note, I would say our small businesses, they are actually banks don't kind of go to them. So it's a fear factor for them because they don't want to go to the bank. Actually, it's a fear factor for them. So I think the loan process that we are trying hard with our central bank to ease the process of the loans and the documentation requirements. So that is one roadblock. And then financial literacy, like when we go and finance, like for any sort of finance, be it large corporate, small, or whatever, you need to assess the business. But in order to assess the business, the kind of financial you get when you go to the small businesses, it's actually, we need to train them. So I think here we can play a role with CARE, where we can deliver a lot of capacity building initiative because CARE have a deep-rooted access to these small businesses. So we can work there. And collateral, yes, we should rethink collaterals because that's a big roadblock for financing. We don't take collaterals, by the way. And our collateral-free lending book is almost like 30,000 crore Bangladeshi taka, which running an NPL of less than 2%. Whereas my collateral-backed loan portfolio NPL is now at 5%. So the art of financing without collaterals, that is something we have learned over the years, and we want other financial institutions to learn this and do this more because we cannot solve the problem alone. The finance gap is more than, in Bangladesh alone, it's hovering around 3 to 4 billion annually, the requirement of SMEs. One bank can't do it. And but having said that, the regulators, on the other hand, should provide some sort of benefits for the banks who are providing finances to this sector. So, like earlier, we had a provisioning benefit, general provision benefit of 0.25% instead of 1%. Now it's all the same, so there is no benefit. We are doing it because we have the BRAC name in front of us. That's why we are doing it. But anyway, end of the day, when our investors, when they come and ask me about ROE, ROI, then I'm in a problem. So anyway, another thing I think we should, on small business financing, is a lot of government infrastructure support is required, because if you look at, because if you want to do this business, you have to do it at a lesser cost and fast. Because my competitor in this segment are the MFIs, who require much less documentation, whose regulatory framework is not that strong like us. But, and at the same time, I think if the government have a kind of a digital infrastructure, if we talk about India, the way Aadhaar has taken the digital infrastructure to a different level, if we compare it with Bangladesh, we only have the identity layer, which is the NID, and now we are also facing challenges in accessing that. So, and we let alone the second tier, which is the tax infrastructure that India have. They have given access to that database to all the financiers. So I can do financing without even visiting the customer. I can have a clear digital footprint of the customer, his sales. So so that reduces my cost, and that, to answer to your question, that ensures access to finance to the last mile. So I think a lot of policy advocacy requires in that area and in that space. Also, the last thing I will say about the challenges, there are many challenges, I'm just highlighting a few, is the trade license. But for a business entity, you need to have a trade license. And there is no one entity who does this. There is Union Parishad who does at the bottom level, then there is Poroshobhas, then there is City Corporation, no one database, and no authentication mechanism. So all these things we have to do all by ourselves, which requires people, which at the end of the day is cost. So I think because government is doing a lot of things, like we can replicate, like I was talking to the our investment climate thing that we have just heard from you, that they're generating a one-stop solution. So if we can generate a one-stop solution and provide all sort of licensing digitally from Union Parishad and Poroshobha level, then I think, and I have a digital database, then that will ease off another problem, which is the identity of the SMEs. So I think these are the couple of challenges which can, if we can address this immediately, we can solve a lot of problems and provide a lot of funds to these segments. And I think if we can do that, then other banks will also be interested, because they can do these loans digitally without a lot of cost or a lot of investments. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Momin bhai, for a very detailed answer and giving us some ideas and pathways to going forward. I do have a follow-up question for you. Sorry for being hard on you. You kind of talked about the digital infrastructure, and Ahsan Mansur sir yesterday also focused on the way to go forward is going digital. And he also mentioned about credit scoring for individuals, for small businesses. So this point of digital infrastructure is extremely important. I understand that there are a lot of policy framework and policy work that needs to be done. At the same time, in the ecosystem, what type of technological solution, what type of more reaching out to small businesses at a community level who are not digitally aware, their financial literacy and digital literacy is quite low. So how do we solve this ecosystem problem of low digital literacy? We need digital infrastructure, which needs investment. We need more IT companies to be into the equation. We need policy changes to happen. There's just quite a lot of challenges to take care of. What's the way forward? Which are the most important two things we need to focus on? And something Care Advisory Facility can focus on as well.
That's another question that I love, actually, because see, digital, like the buzzword in our current days is AI. People are all talking about AI. Wherever you go, you see the .ai. But what is the basic of AI? What AI can do if you don't have data? So I think access to data is a very important fact, because in our environment, all the data are in silos and we don't share data. It's a crime. So the banks have their data with them, mobile companies have their data with them, and we don't share. And if we don't share, how I can generate an AI or credit score, whatever we talk about. However, there are some ray of light, because our governor, when he took over, he wanted to establish 4 companies. I think they have given license to they will get access to all these data and they will design scores. So I don't know how far that project has gone through, but if we can have a scoring company like that, then those companies can help us a lot. However, we are not sitting here idly. We are doing a lot of partnerships because the fintechs, especially the agri-fintechs, they have come up a long way, actually. Like We Grow, iFarmer. Also with CARE, we have partnered with them, where actually we are getting the digital data from these fintech companies, and then we are providing the financing during the crop cycle. And obviously, for agriculture sector, it's very important to match your financing with the crop cycle, because we have done more than 8,000. We have financed more than 8,000 farmers through all these partnerships. This is the second cycle running of another crop. Earlier we did for potatoes. And out of these 8,500 farmers, after the cycle, only one farmer didn't pay. All the payment were done on time because he was sick. But that payment came during the next cycle. So I think, yes, there are problems, but we cannot stop. We need to keep on innovating, finding out ways to solve these problems in the short term, and then also work so that we can solve bigger problems in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Momin bhai. So at this stage, I'd like to give the floor to Zubair Mahbub bhai from the Bangladesh Bank. Let's hear from the regulator. I do have two separate questions for you. The first question is about green financing. And most of the banks and financial institutions have talked about different frameworks that's available from Bangladesh Bank's end. We'd like to hear more about that and going forward, how those frameworks will be further implemented and scaled. The second question is an important point Momin bhai pointed out, which is data infrastructure, data availability, interoperability of systems between different organizations to access those data. We'd like to hear a little bit more about Bangladesh Bank's kind of policy framework around data.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank CARE for organizing this very timely roundtable. And I think this is also a part of awareness raising. So yesterday, there was an award was given to the top sustainable banks based on their green and sustainable activities. And BRAC Bank was one of the leading banks, as well as IDLC was also there. So there, the top executives were there, but they were even surprised to see the NPL rate of the green financing or sustainable financing compared to the usual NPL rate. The industry NPL rate averages is between about 20 plus, whereas the green and sustainable finance NPL rate is 1.68. So that was so significant. So NPL is related to your profitability. The best example is also BRAC. So whatever problem Momin bhai has already mentioned, provided those problems, BRAC has done extremely good in terms of profitability this year and the previous years. So profitability is not that much problem. For the green banking, one thing I would like to mention, we have given 3 taxonomies for green finance, sustainable finance, and climate finance. So the taxonomy is open for everyone. Anyone can add any product to that. Just to avoid the green finance, you have to write to us. We will just add to the green product list. The product list is now, with the feedback from the industry, is 94 right at this moment. And we always welcome this thing. And green finance target, we have already revised from 2025. Green finance was, previously it was 5% of the term loan. Now it is 5% of the total outstanding, which will be almost double in the coming years. And also the sustainable finance was 20%. Now we have, from 2025, it will be 40%. This is one kind of mandatory situation to the banks to go for the green investment. Number two, the main problem that we are facing is that the business, development of the business. We say that we are very climate vulnerable, but we also know that the globe is going to the low carbon economy. But unfortunately, we haven't developed that much business product based on transition. It is huge opportunity, and you can engage our rural, marginal women into this. You can introduce solar irrigation, you can introduce different areas. Another thing, I would like to focus on the opportunities more, like that you are saying that 200 jobs are at risk. Believe me, they are risk. On the other hand, you will find 5,000 opportunities for business. So whether we are trying to do this, for CARE, my request to CARE is that we are working piecemeal basis. CARE is working in the remote area. They are working for the climate resilience. No doubt, they are working very well. But whether CARE is tagging it to the microfinance, still most of the microfinance is 1 year duration. Within 1 year, the repayment capacity of the marginal people with 20 plus interest rate, is it possible to make any financing climate resilient? So if we can do whatever we are doing to make them resilient, make them understand the microfinance, that this much required to make this financing resilient, and increase the tenor. So with the same repayment, the borrower can have, the end borrower can have a resilient finance, so that he doesn't require the same financing again for the same finance. So this is where I would like to another problem, when we discussed with the banks why you are not going there in 5 or 6 years ago, it was said that the collateral is the problem. So BRAC is an example. Without collateral we can fund. Another thing is that we have developed credit guarantee schemes for CMSMEs. So now you need not to worry. We have low cost refinance scheme, as well as we have the credit guarantee scheme, so that the bank can go without any risks to those areas. But they have to collaborate. They have to find out the business. I still believe that we are running with the conventional business, but not the new opportunities, particularly related to the transition climate finance. Another, we have also, the banks has also their CMSME targets. So banks will run for that. So fund is available, but now need the business. And 2009, HSBC, SCB was one of the questions when Bangladesh Bank gave them the target of agriculture credit. And you will see the drastic change from 2009 to 2025. It's a huge change. But that time, HSBC and other, not HSBC, since you are here, I'm mentioning the name, most of the foreign banks says that our operation is not at the marginal level where the aggregated will be monitored. That time, a new avenue was created. We know that we are champion in microfinance. So why wouldn't use that? The bank started financing from 2000 using NGO linkage. Still, a lot of bank is financing to the NGO linkage, but NGOs are a little bit cautious to take money from the banks. So why? So we can find out this, and I am extremely request to all of you, the NGOs are very, very rigid to make the financing tenure 1 year. But I think if you can make it 5 years, you can provide more money to those. Now, in case of, I have already mentioned that we have developed we have improved the targets. And now, when we started the journey, we have to be prepared with the global compliances too, because you have, at the same time, you are having low-cost financing windows from the globe due to the transition. But at the same time, climate can create a new window. To avail those, we have to adopt with this. So we are very grateful to our commercial banks that despite a lot of difficulties, we have already implemented IFRS S1 and S2. You know that there are 4 pillars. One of the pillars is that metrics and targets. You have to calculate your financed emission and revise your next year target to reduce that. And believe me, while calculating, everyone said you cannot do without data. But I said we have data. We have data, but we don't know which data we need and from where we have to take it, and access to the data. This is very issues, and I request all of here, so that already Financial Reporting Council has communicated with us. They will adopt for the other corporates, and we believe that this will take yeah. And another thing, for CSR, it is mandatory for banks, whatever they will do their CSR, they have to keep set aside 20% for environment and climate. Among these 20%, 10% has to keep for addressing climate. And if the bank cannot spend within the year, they have to carry over the balance. So there is stringent policy, and BRAC is using for some adaptation financing. We know that climate change adaptation is a little bit difficult to make it bankable. And another big areas where we are lacking is carbon credits. So certification of carbon credit is very expensive for individual borrower or individual product financing. So if any platform we can develop so that we can integrate it as smallest carbon savings, we know that we are doing a lot. Still, our energy mix is the best among the Southeast Asia. We are gas-based. And renewable progress is there, and we have industry targets. So how can we use these carbon credits for this time? That's need to be addressed. So if you can have some money for this, we can leverage or we can reduce the interest rate so that we can incentivize the banks. And apart from this, we have 3 refinance schemes where we funded the climate and green initiatives, and that is most of the banks are using that refinance scheme. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zubair bhai. That was amazing. Thank you. And I'll just pick up one point that you mentioned in the end about the carbon credit, which is a very interesting opportunity, but so far, I would say Bangladesh haven't really tapped into it at all. And one of the biggest, finding carbon trader is not an issue because they exist. I'm sure the financial institutions can easily access them. The question is, how do we get that certification? This is an open question to all the financial institutions here or anybody else who have experience and knowledge in that space. In your experience, what are the biggest challenge in becoming a carbon certifier? To get that certification, is it expensive? Is it a technical expertise that we lack? Is it something Care Advisory Facility can help and focus on? So yeah, open question about carbon certification to any financial institutions or anybody in the panel who would like to contribute.
I just can add my experience. We have financed few large corporates who has basically taken energy efficient machineries, which basically reduces the carbon footprint. So they were planning to go for carbon, carbon credits estimation, and then basically subsequently trading of it. The biggest hurdle that they found is the certification. That's expensive. No one exists here in Bangladesh. You have to find consultants or the audit firm from India. They will come, they will take some time, because since there is none, you need industry standards first. Then you basically say, for me, let's say I've gone from 100 to 50. If the industry standard is at 50, then basically your 50 is only gone down back to the industry level, then you basically improve on it. So the key issue here is that if we can develop industry specific or aware, make aware of the industry players, industry specific targets and improve over that, that sort of intervention can help us to get there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Abid bhai. Any other thoughts from any other?
Yes, if I may add,
yes,
I think Care Advisory can take up this space. I think what we have faced is, it's not just the cost of the certification, but the readiness of the institution to be certified as well, because they need to make a lot of changes. So the technical knowledge and how to conform to those, I think they need a bit of handholding there. That is where the advisory services can come in. May I just add a comment on the overall financing thing? And thank you, Zubair bhai, you mentioned about the CSR. So I think one point had come up from CARE's deliberations from yesterday, is the fact that there's a lot of CSR fund available, especially in the banking sector, but a bulk of it is going into endowment funds or relief funds, and those are not being utilized impactfully to design projects or initiatives which can actually bring impact for the society and also this, for the green initiatives. So I think the 20% reserved for CSR for climate or environment, and of that half is climate risk fund. I think we should ensure that all banks do not use that for any sort of disaster relief or anything like that. It has to be for specifically co-created projects with specific targets for meeting green, targets, for example.
Realizing that we have issued another circular in 2023, how to utilize the CRF fund properly, and it is also said that you can increase the threshold, but before that we have to ensure that educate opportunities are there to utilize that.
To Bitapiapu, what you mentioned about the utilization of CSR funds, India is a great example. And most of the corporates in India have a very clear strategy how to use that 2% really well on the ground. And kind of building on that point, even just shouting out, because Standard Chartered Foundation has a brilliant initiative called Future Makers,
Yes.
which Devlin is working closely on the M&E partner. And what we have noticed and like to share with the other financial institutions is that their CSR initiative is also not a piecemeal. This Future Maker initiative is about youth employment, about women's economic empowerment. It's about job creation. So it has a very clear strategic goal how to implement it on the ground, and that is a great example.
Can I take one
for the
more
other
minute then?
corporates. Yes, please.
I would have wanted to speak about our Future Makers project, which is our global CSR project umbrella. So all our markets, whoever is working with communities, work under Future Makers, and it is about investing in youth. And I was really thrilled to hear about, from the CARE study as well, about the TVET learnings and the youth employment and skill matching. I think this is exactly what Future Makers targets, and we work with youth at 3 levels. One is education, so we help them learn. Next is employable skills, so we help them earn. And lastly, becoming entrepreneurs and creating jobs. So the 3 steps of youth in engagement or investing for the future is where we call it, and how Future Makers is actually designed to give results for the longer term. And that's where our sustainability and circularity also comes in. I think we can replicate that in Bangladesh. We from Standard Chartered have similar projects. We work with USEF for the last 7 years, and we have more than 90% placement rates of all the USEF graduates that we finance. We are working with several hospitals to educate nurses and other support systems in the medical sector as well. So I think other corporates, if we can work together and invest in the youth, not just directly funding scholarships, because at the end of the day, we are also looking at the return that our CSR funds bring. And scholarships, we thought, or we found from our study, is one of the lowest return ones, because that doesn't guarantee that the person is employed gainfully afterwards. So instead of doing scholarships, we do projects under Future Makers, which also guarantee
My
employment.
next question was actually for you.
Before
I know,
that,
so
I'd like
please.
to, take 30 seconds here. Thank you so much. I mean, you talked about the neighboring countries, the structured CSR approach. I was head of CSR in Grameenphone many years. And, in the neighboring country, they have got national CSR policy where, the 2% of their net profit after tax has to go to CSR of all the listed companies. So they have a mandate, like, Bangladesh Bank did it for the banks. So if we have that kind of stuff for the listed company in Bangladesh, then obviously the structured CSR approach will come into our country as well. So that is extremely important. So you raised a very valid point that we have to work on that. Thank you.
Absolutely, Debashish Bhai. So great that you kind of raised the point and took them on floor as well. A lot of the questions from the financial institutions is about, we need to find the right businesses in the small business area and cottage and micro business as well. And maybe CARE has a strong history of working with the small businesses and identification of those cottage and micro businesses. But a big challenge for those cottage and micro businesses is the right type of incubation. It's not one-time training that's needed. You need investment, you need mentoring, you need coaching, and many other support that is needed by those cottage and micro businesses. So my question to you, Debashish Bhai, is, in your experience, how do you make incubation as less expensive and affordable for all those market actors? Because incubation is needed, everybody knows that. The question is about how do we make it affordable, not just to the funder, but also to the entrepreneurs?
Well, very difficult question, especially in front of Mashur Bhai, because well, there are a lot of incubations, happening in the country right now. I just joined, 5 months back at IIX. Before that, I was in UNDP, United Nations Development Program, Bangladesh country office, where we tried to do incubation programs through a project called Future Nation, which is funded by Telenor/Grameenphone, my previous company. So where, we try to kind of, that was the main question, that how can we make it less expensive for the organization and also for the youth of this country. So what we did is, this is just a real life example. From Future Nation, we have a smaller version of Future Nation in all the institutes, educational institutes we are working on. Say, for example, in Bangladesh, we have worked on with 100 educational institutes. So we kind of created a small team with the educator, the teacher, and a student volunteer, and a person from the project. So 3 team members, all are based on that particular university. Say, for example, Khulna University, or a college from Vola. So we created a small version of, a small unit of tiny Future Nation there. And we have gone there with industry leaders and some of the local business house, so that we don't have to get all the resources from Dhaka to that particular college in Vola. Rather, we have created that in the university. University is giving us the place, so we don't have to rent it, and a volunteer recruited by Future Nation from that particular college. So that's how the cost went down. And we are kind of we were giving them with the right kind of information, right kind of presentation skills, and right kind of industry connectivity with the local industry and also some of the national players like Unilever, like Grameenphone, and so on and so forth. So we make it a little localized version of that. So that's how we have seen that a lot of costs have been lowered. So that's what I can tell, but Mashur Bhai is there. He can shed light on this, how to work with the startups and make it more affordable on ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Debashish Bhai. Before I'll give the floor to Mashur Bhai, I know that Better Stories and True Value has a lot of experience also working with women entrepreneurs and incubation as well. So I'd like to give the floor to Minhas Bhai first to share your experience about how to make incubation effective at the same time cost effective too.
Thank you so much to Care and everybody in this room. I think it's very interesting, quite a spectrum, and I can see the dots are getting connected. I would like to kind of ask back, why would we consider incubation as an expense item? Why can't we consider that as an investment item, right? And I think a lot of us in this room have got the experience of working with smaller businesses. And we understood that, the NPL and performance indicators are giving us the right kind of feedback. That means we're missing out on that opportunity. I think, the point on financial literacy, for example, I have seen how, just 7 days of boot camp with women in a very remote place, in multiple remote places, actually helped them to not only make sense of what their business numbers are, but interestingly, that was an experiment. In the room, we had microfinance bankers invited for the last day and also for the first day. And over the 7 days, these businesses didn't acquire anything other than the understanding. And in one occasion, in one district, we had one particular bank sending out an invitation to all 30 participants to offer them up to 300,000 taka loan without any collateral, without anything, but by the dint that they participated in that bootcamp. So that means there is this opportunity. We just need to bridge. We need just the connections. I think, you know, in Bangladesh, as we go into the remote places, we figure out there is an opportunity to work with these nano, micro, solo entrepreneurs more than before, because I think it's now possible, even by legal framework, now one can individually start a company. That's possible now, it wasn't before. And then also there are development challenges that can be achieved or overcome by having business, you know, solutions. Like how to take nutrition and wash products to homes at the last mile. I think CARE has got fantastic examples. Jita has been one of the success stories that we have been hearing a lot about, and it has now evolved to now embrace more commercial and technology-driven approaches in the garments industry. So I think there is ample examples of success. So altogether, I would say that, you know, considering the available challenges and turning them into opportunities is the mindset that we have to embrace. I've been seeing that in this room for the last 24 hours and very encouraged, and would love to, you know, give back also from my experience of working with both Grameen Phone Accelerator, and by the way, we have done 21 accelerators so far in the last 10, 15 years, and we have supported 1,000 entrepreneurs. I think 65% of them are outside of Dhaka, 52 to 55% are women, and collectively they have created 1.5 million jobs. So all the discussions around, you know, creating jobs come home when we, of course, propel the entrepreneurship. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi, and thanks for making this narrative quite important, that it's not a cost, it's an investment. And on that point, I'd like to give floor to Sharawat Apu to talk about True Value's business model, where you're not just supporting on incubation, you're really making that investment. How does that work, and what's your experience so far?
Thank you very much, Naim Bhai. Those of you who do not know me, I am Sharawat. I am the Managing Director of True Value Bangladesh. And True Value Bangladesh is a subsidiary of Dutch True Value BV, an impact investor. So basically our business model entails, like we are of course an impact investor. We invest from our own balance sheet. We are asset owners. At the same time, we work like a platform. We try to mobilize and unlock capital from other investors, financiers, financial institutions. And also we work a lot on capacity development, capacity strengthening of businesses, so that, you know, we have a strong pipeline. So we try to work throughout the entire ecosystem. So this is our business model. And since we are an impact investor, I'll try to talk from the supply side, try to uphold the supply side perspective mostly. So as Mr. Ramdas was saying that development aid is shrinking. But at the same time, I'd like to mention the fact that growth of the impact investing market has been 21% on average for the last 5 years. And currently, the impact investing assets under management stands at 1.57 trillion. This is as of 2024. Why? Because you know, corporates, DFIs, even faith-based investors, and many other organizations, apart from traditional investors, are coming into impact investment. But how much of it is coming to Bangladesh? Very insignificant. So I think we all have a role here to play, that to bring that capital to Bangladesh. And there are many also climate-focused investors here in Bangladesh, I mean, that are interested. And we know Bangladesh is vulnerable to climate change. There are gender-focused investors. So we should try to bring that capital to Bangladesh. But what is holding them back? How can we work towards that? So the constraints that the investors are facing is that, first of all, high risk. It's a high-risk market. And we have a very informal economy. The businesses are very informal, yet our tax to GDP ratio is still very, very low compared to our neighboring countries. And the reporting, which Javed Nur Bhai mentioned, so if we look at a business, we cannot calculate the impact. So the reporting of impact matrices like reporting of sustainability, reporting of green, banks are reporting that, but when it comes to businesses, medium-sized businesses, corporates, even emerging corporates, so that reporting must be there. And also, I think where care advisory can work is policy advocacy level, that incentivization of these impact investors is needed. It's very important, so that they are interested to invest in Bangladesh, right? So a lot of catalytic financing, concessional financing, and a blended model is needed for that investment. Like for banks, there are credit guarantee schemes, right? There are other instruments, but for investors, I think these sort of instruments or incentives, impact-linked finance or outcome-based financing instruments, these are necessary. And another aspect for care advisory can work is that making businesses investment ready or working towards awareness, building awareness. So in summary, I can see that care advisory can help us with our pipeline development, or building businesses that are investment ready, awareness building, policy advocacy, and of course, last of all, ecosystem collaboration. So I want to collaborate with each of you in this, who are present in this roundtable, and I really want to work out with some results. We talk about challenges, we talk about problems, but I really want to work with all of you, like the brands, the corporates, the financial institutions. Like together we can come towards some sort of blended model to invest in these businesses. Not just women entrepreneurs, but to do some impactful work. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharatapa. Thanks so much. I'd like to change the conversation more from access to finance to supply chain now. We have a few leading corporates of Bangladesh. First, I'd like to give floor to Hasibul Mangan Bhai from ACA Agribusiness. And my specific question to you is, in the last 15-20 years, one of the key themes in our agriculture sector has always been about productivity. So we worked a lot, and all of the big companies in Bangladesh has invested a lot in quality seed, different type of inputs, pesticide, fertilizer. To a great extent, we have achieved a lot on the input side. The challenge that we're facing now, and which Mehrul Bhai nicely pointed out yesterday, is the post-harvest loss. Now we're talking about the forward market, transport, logistic, storage, and we're observing 30 to 40% of the loss. So I'd like to hear more from ACA Agribusiness's business model and try to understand that, is that the next big challenge for Bangladesh, and what are the type of initiative that is needed, more at a policy level, also at a business level, to overcome these challenges?
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, partners, and fellow changemakers. It's my pleasure to participate here with you all at this moment in this very important roundtable. So ACI, as you all know, that we are the largest integrator of agribusiness solutions for agriculture, fisheries, livestock. And we have products of feed, seed, fertilizer, agri-machinery, whatnot. What do you think? All the inputs, we have that. But the Naim Bhai is saying about the challenge, the innovative products, inputs, climate resilient seed, stress tolerant seeds, our organic fertilizers, farmers are using it properly with the support of all the development agencies here, financial support. They increase their yields, but the outputs, the productions, this is basically also a challenge for the big farms or organization like us, because you know about our super shop, Shopno. So this is, we, the ACI, think in a different way. You know, Shopno outlet is now near about 700. one of our dreams is to expand this Shopno at the union level. So it could be near about 5,000 outlets. So why the dream come out? The dream come out, reason is for the farmers, who are the producers. So it can be sellable to the nearest shop, and the loss, the market access, the good price, the making good revenue, profit can be at their level as well, like us. So we are very much suffering for cold chain service. You know, the production the farmer make, even our many seeds like potatoes and other which perish very quickly. So it needs cold chain support. Last year, some of our potatoes, seed potatoes, was very quickly destroyed due to the lack of cold chain. Because you know, we are the second largest seller of potato seed. So it impacted us a lot. We talked with governments, we talked with many investors who are really try to have their interest to invest in cold storage, cold chain, so that farmer can take their product from their home to the markets, and there should be a very ready market. The ready market means very much identified market that people can know, a buyer can know that from here I can buy this market, this product. But this is also not very much organized. So from cold chain, cold storage to market, all these systems has to be very much organized and clearly identified. And who is taking the role for this? Because here it is not very much identified and well standard till now. So we are very much looking forward together with many, I think, investors, then the business companies who can come up with these solutions. As ACI, we are the largest input seller. For taking that output, our Shopno is working on it, but you know, Shopno is not enough to take all these products. So more investment can come up, thinking like Shopno or any other way, which is innovative, which is very much for our farmers, positive change that can really implement here in Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mannan Bhai. I'd like to give the floor to Firoz Alam Bhai. To just build on the point that has been mentioned, this investment, new business model required in the forward market. I'd like to understand if GEMCON have some ideas that Care Advisory Facility could support on, or there are initiatives that has already been taken, and how do you take this forward market challenge, the cold chain problem, how do you solve that?
Thank you, Naim Bhai. Thank you, Care, for inviting me to this excellent roundtable. The discussions have been so insightful and so much to learn and take back. So our stories are going to be mostly like, as Hasibul Bhai mentioned, because they have Shopno, we have Mina Bazaar, and we are following the footprints of Shopno. They have 700 outlets, we have only 40 outlets. But we also have the plan of going to each of the Upazila first and then to union levels. In terms of supply chain challenges, the first and foremost problem we face is the inconsistent quality and quantity at the smallholder farmer level. Mina Bazaar for the last 5 to 6 years have been trying to source directly from the farmers. The problem is the inconsistency in quality and quantity. One farmer does produce one crop this year and moves to another next year, driven by the price tendency in the market. And cold chain remains to be the biggest challenge. We don't have enough cold storage facilities and cold chain logistics infrastructure. So fragmented purchase or procurement is the biggest and costly experience for us so far. So I think we need organized and educated aggregators to come into this business, who can facilitate the gap or bridge the difference between the supply side and demand side. One of my colleagues was saying that the crops that are produced at the farmer's level do not meet the requirements or specifications that we need in the super shops. So I think there are many startups who does the work of aggregating farmers. There are so many startups that team up the farmers, but what they do at one point, they are forced to sell their produce at the wholesale market and don't get the price, and in 2-3 years the objective doesn't meet and they fail. So I think we need aggregators to come up and bridge the gap between the demand and supply side.
Thank you, Firoz Bhai. That was a very clear solution that Something Care Advisory Facility can take forward and work on with organizations like GEMCON and ACI. In the similar note, my next question too is from Shamima Appu from Unilever. Obviously, Unilever has not just Bangladesh experience, but global experience of solving this supply chain problem. So what are the supply chain leakages that you observe in your supply chain, and what the Bangladesh can learn from Unilever's experience of solving these supply chain problems? I do have a complementary question for you, because Unilever's supply chain employs a lot of small businesses. So the question is how small businesses can prepare themselves better to be part of Unilever's supply chain. How an organization like Care Advisory Facility can support you in achieving that.
Thank you very much. As we are running short of time, so I will not, go through a prolonged thanking, speech. First of all, yes, Unilever is one of the oldest organization in Bangladesh operating. So that means we have seen pre-liberation war, during the liberation war, or construct of this country's economy, as well as this LDC graduation process. So we kind of experienced all those different side. That says that we know that how to operate in a different environment. So why do we know it? Because business's job is actually solving problem. So I don't see LDC graduation as a challenge. Any problem that is going to occur as a business, and thanks to Care for bringing all the business people here, we'll find a way to solve it. So that's the mindset of business. We will solve it because we want to solve it for our consumers. Of course, where development sector and government sees it as a citizen or as a beneficiary, we see them as a consumer. Because when consumer thrive, we thrive. So that's the kind of a different outlook that we bring into the table. While we are talking about the value chain, and of course, any business will operate in a in a country or in a territory with other stakeholders. Businesses are a stakeholder, even smallholder farmers to the small shop owners, all are our stakeholder. Our job is to ensure that they understand how their profit generation is linked with our profit generation information. So I'll give you an example of, we work with 1.3 million retail outlets in this country, right? This is quite a big number. Now we go to 70% directly, rest 30% through other medium. And we know that we were talking about AI and digitization. So Unilever's one of the solution has been the digital ordering, because we always used to have feet on street. People used to go and take an order, and we used to process it in 2 days, N-2. Now it's a chaotic country like Bangladesh. We take an order and next day we deliver. It's very efficient. If someone is coming from developed country, they know it's like N-3 to 4. That what's it take. So it says that in Bangladesh, though we did not have digitization, we still used to operate in a very, in our own way. Having said that, when digitization came in, we have to leverage that, right? And what have we done? We are saying that data accuracy is so important. At this moment, it is 11% of our order comes from digital platforms, and whoever is ordering, their profit has increased 20%. So that's data that talks about saying that, okay, my people on, feet on street didn't able to generate that data. Now, as I have a data, I am talking to my retailer saying that, take this SKU, take this portfolio, invest in this, so that the money that you invest, you get extra 20% return. So that's actually solving the small businesses problem, but that solves my problem because then my gross margin also increases. So it's win-win for all of us. The other challenge we remember that while packaging industry was not developed in the country like Bangladesh, Unilever wanted this solution, and that's the reason we work with packaging industry. Now look at this packaging industry in Bangladesh. It's now evolved in a manner that they can serve us well. So that says that value chain development lies on us. So what is important for here is the business model that with transparency. If a business want to win, there will be a value chain, especially the off-taker like ours, we will want to make them win as well. One important part, and sustainability is under my portfolio, so I understand the social impact as well as business side of it. Now, if my value chain is not connected to a business, I will not have that mentoring opportunity. I will just fund them for the sake of funding. But if I want that business to be part of my value chain, I will work differently with them. So I'll come back to the circular economy, and one of the CARE management committee member mentioned that the waste management conversation. Now in Bangladesh, 40% waste gets recycled. It's a lot higher than global average, which is 9%. Why it is so? Because there is money there. Now, having said that, I don't invest in recyclers because I don't buy from them. The day I am going to be bound by extended producer's responsibility, I will invest on their capability as well. So now if I see that my RMG friends are investing on circularity because they have to export it to the European countries, and that's the reason their ESRS is impacting our value chain. So that's very important to understand how it is interlinked. Of course, philanthropy will come. We are going to talk about that. Not only it's business, we have to also go beyond our our own horizon. That's where come the collaboration opportunity with a development partner as well as government. One area where I see development sector's role that is changing is saying that they have to also work with government. Government has got a lot of development money, by the way, right? And we see that when government talks about awareness building, do they know how much money it takes to convert customers' behavior or a individual behavior change? So say for example, Unilever has got a huge food business all over the world. We don't have it in Bangladesh because I know that I won't be able to do the traceability the way it is done in India. So I don't have the capacity, hence I'm not doing the business here, but I will be doing it. If my farmers know that what is a responsible production, how much fertilizer to use, how to calculate their carbon footprint, and they're ready to give me a traceable product, right? I will come and invest here. It's not only Unilever. So many companies is going to come and invest there. There is a big gap there, saying that how do I convert these, farmers to say that this is a future of farming. That's where I believe that NGO should work with government, get the funding from a government saying that if you can convert this location into a sustainable economy production zone, you are going to get an incentive. There has to be an incentivization mechanism there as well. So it's not only seeing businesses as an investor, but also government also can invest to the development sector and change the development sector as an agent for true change, which will ultimately create the market for the future. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamima. That was amazing. And thanks for mentioning the RNG sector where there's a lot of experience already in the panel. So I'll move the conversation and wrap it up in the next 15 minutes to wrap up the whole panel discussion. But before going into the RMG discussion, I'd like to invite Mr. Monwar Hussain, who's the head of sustainability at the Teams Group, to join the panel discussion. Okay, all right, sounds good. So we'll continue. First question to you is Ziaur Rahman Bhai from H&M. Obviously, H&M has been one of the biggest partner of Bangladesh and partner of all the suppliers. My big question to you is that with the topic of circularity and investing in innovative business models, how H&M has supported and worked with different suppliers, and what are the things that Care Advisory Facility should focus on to help your suppliers as well?
Thank you so much. I think our business model is a little bit different than others, what we have here from the bankers and also the Shopno and the Bina Bazaar as well. So it's a little bit different because we serve outsides. So because we are a part of the global value chain. So we have to comply with the due diligence. It's okay? I think you took a picture. It feels. Thank you so much. Thank you. I didn't mean anything bad. Sorry, bhai. Sorry. So we are a part of the global value chain. And so we need to maintain and all the European legislations, laws, and everything, right? And I'm not saying that's a challenge, that's an opportunity. But if you talk about circularity, why someone will just do a circularity? Is it a business case only, or is it legislation as well? Well, for Bangladesh, I think it's a nice things to do. But the moment you are a part of the global value chain, there is a law that you need to comply. So I think it's a smart idea if you can turn it to a business, and that's what I think in Bangladesh, entrepreneurs are doing quite a lot. So we are not really behind of a lot of people, because I think BGB takes a lot of pride as well, and the same goes to us also, that is the second biggest manufacturer in the whole world for the RMG. So that's in many extent is true. Now, if you ask me, I think you asked a question also that how we can create jobs with the circularity and others. I will go back in a little bit. Maybe a lot of people will not like it, because I will rather challenge ourselves, because if people think that machine will take our job, AI will take our job, I don't think that will happen for RMG industry. And the reason why I don't think, because if you look at the textile industry, it evolved quite a lot from a handmade to the machine-driven industry. But if you look at, even you can Google it actually, that the sewing machine, even probably 70 years old sewing machine looks exactly same as today. It just added electricity because it ran fast. So I think we should not afraid about it, because every single individual, even in this room, are different. If I try to wear your clothes, I will look odd. You will look odd, vice versa, if you wear my clothes. So it is a tailor fit. So you need to understand this if you talk about a particular industry. And it required a particular field. Some people like dry field. I'm talking about very technical things as well. So it has a particular demand that it serves. Well, our industry has been very equipped so far, but as the innovation comes with the machines and others, well, there is a tendency that there is less people are required. Well, if you turn that around, that inefficiency is no one's friend. Let's put it this way. The minimum wages in this country is low, and it should go high. We cannot take a pride that country will go for LDC graduation, and we will still pay $100 per month. It's impossible. I would say rather shame on us, So it should go high. Okay, look at the journey of China. I think 20 years ago, they were producing a lot of garments. They take the shift. If you look back probably 50 years ago, Manchester was producing their own garments. Even Texas has their own production for the garments. Trump wanted to take it back probably, but he cannot, so I know. So there is a reason why you do the garments today. It was a low cost, labor intense product. I think when the country goes, ecosystem goes high, we need to change our mentality. We need to stop producing some of the t-shirts. That's it. We need to try to take the value-added product. It's very important that. Otherwise, we'll keep behind. We'll always blame there is no money on the t-shirt. There is no money on the t-shirt, everybody knows. So we need to stop doing something. So that's one thing. The machine will not take our job. I don't think so. Rather, machine will complement our job. I think we need to learn that really. And how to do that, that's probably $1 million question, and trust me, I don't have the full answer, but I understand some of the low-hanging opportunities, which is already said, the value addition, doing the right product is very, very important, because the inefficiency is no one's friend. I was responsible for Sri Lanka business as well, and I've been to Sri Lanka a couple of times. It's a beautiful country, but if you go back, if you go to their garments industry, let's say, on an average, the efficiency is 75% plus. The moment you look at, and I can claim that H&M works with a lot of beautiful garments factories, and one of the best factories in Bangladesh. Average efficiency is 150. It's only 2-hour flight. Is it the education level? We know that they are far ahead than us. Is it something else? I think we need people to understand those things better. Because if you ask me, the moment if I want to buy an apple, either I go to ACI's Shopno or Mina Bazaar, why should I pay more? I need the right quality apple, that's it. That's my right to have a right price. So you cannot just go back and say to someone that, hey, the price is low, because you are doing a wrong product. That's why it is low. It's still this product, you go somewhere in Africa's country, probably the price will look better. So I think we need to understand and ask back the question to us. Reskilling. So what are you going to say that these 4 million workers works in this industry, what are you going to do with them? You cannot just send them back to the school. You need to do something, that's for sure. This is where the reskilling comes to the picture. I think a lot of NGOs like CARE and others can play a very, very vital role here. The China example amazed me. I've been to many, many times China because I'm a part of the global supply chain there. The way they reskill their workers, I think we have many things to learn from there. I think I stop it here because of the time and everything.
Amazing,
Thank you so much.
The point of reskilling is extremely important. Thank you so much. Because reskilling could be in those value-added products as well. It could be self-employment. And those self-employment can be within the garments value chain as well. So there could be so many different ways of reskilling where obviously CARE and other development partners could work on and partner with the suppliers as well that you have been working with. On that note, my question is to Shams Mahmood Bhai from Shams & Denim. My question is the fact that you're working in the denim space and that requires a lot of environmental friendly, greener technologies to be introduced. What are the challenges do you face in introducing greener technology? Is it workforce? Is it access to finance? What are the issues there?
Thank you. I think Zia Bhai talking before me covered a lot of things. So one thing I want to mention, so number one, we all have this perception that there is a skill gap in the lower tier, like my workers, with them, there's a skill gap. I see it the other way around. Like for me, in my case, in my factory, my workers I have the best workers in the world. Our efficiency is 99.2%. Zia Bhai knows it because they audit our factory. And so our efficiency is like very high. There are reasons because of that, but what I suffer from is my management. And this is the main problem that we don't address in Bangladesh. We think that just because I'm the owner, I'm 100% right, and I blame the wrong decisions. Everything is, everyone else is responsible except me. So we need to rethink like that, like it doesn't happen like that. And so regarding the investment, we have to think long term, like either I can do a business or I can build an institution. It's the perception of the owner, the investor who's making the investment. Now, if I don't have a long-term vision, I will go for inexpensive, low-end machinery, which will offer, I can make the product, but it will not add any value. So whenever we make the investment, we go for story creation. Like I have to create a story. Like I'm third generation textile businessman. So, I start from my grandfather from 1957, how my father built on that, and I have built on that. We have come up with the term saburo, which means the third son. So that is our story for my company. So whenever we meet Japanese clients, we tell them that, and they can connect. And so then we have come up with our in-house programs where we say that fashion and sustainability does not go hand in hand. There's a saying. But we said it can, but there needs to be a balance. So we came up with this program called Balance, where whatever we do through the process, the machine is one part, green technology is one part, the machinery, the hardware is one segment, and this is where I think there needs to be, I think CARE can actually play a huge role here. It's that the main fundamental problem with the industry is that replication. I will just give a small example. When we started the first export-oriented denim factory in Bangladesh in '96, we bought the world's first nitrogen fixation machine. It was a new technology, brand new. It used like 50% less water. Chemical usage was 60% less, but it was a prototype machine. So we invested there, we took a risk, and somehow because it was a new thing for the entire world, there was a problem in the machine. In the design phase, there was a problem. But when we repaid the bank within 5 years, which was the fastest repayment at that time in Bangladesh's history, all the big companies started investing, and the first thing they did was they asked, like, what machine did Shasha have? And they all bought the same machine with the same effect, the defect. So this is the common thing. Without understanding, you buy the machine, and whenever, in India, in Pakistan, in Vietnam, someone buys a machine, because they have been working with the process, they have their own thought process, and they design the machine in such a way. So only he knows why he has done that modification there, right? And how do we validate this data? Through reports, through audits, that everyone you will talk to in the textile sector, in the RMG sector, will tell you they have gone for a green factory. They have bought the best machine in the world. They're 80% water reduction, 60% chemical reduction. But when you ask for the validation, no one will show you that. And this is where I think there's a huge gap. And this is where we need to work on, and I think Care Advisory can play a big role in this, especially when it comes to energy audits, that the bank is saying that they're financing green machinery, right? But how do you validate the data? You have, yes, I've bought a Prius, but I'm flooring the gas, and I'm driving at 100%. It will not be optimum, you will not get the most out of it. So there needs to be a study done that before, what was my carbon footprint, what was the map when you map it, and after I've bought that machine, I've implemented this thing, what my carbon footprint is. And that is also where the skill mismatch comes up. We don't have energy auditors in Bangladesh. And this, down the line, will be a huge problem for the country as we graduate, and especially with the legislations coming from the EU, where we have to do carbon mapping. This thing will be a huge issue for everyone. And regarding the other thing that to run these machines, what we have seen is it's more or less computerized. Everything is computerized. The workers we have are the best. They are really quick to adapt. But then again, we need to, like whenever we talk about countries to compare Bangladesh with, we talk about Vietnam, we talk about Sri Lanka, all these countries, but I think we need to visit Turkey. If you visit Turkey now, within 2 years, 80% of the factories have shut down. And it is very horrific to see the state their textile industry is in at the moment, because the average wage has gone up like 1,200 euros. And some of them are looking to relocate to Bangladesh, they're moving to Jordan and Egypt and all these countries. So there are challenges. So the textile industry, even if we take it at face value that it is here to stay, there are challenges that if the ecosystem does not support it, then it can be very disruptive. And I just want to end by saying that the carbon footprint is there. We have talked about decarbonization. This is another thing. We have a very low-hanging fruit in decarbonization, which is the Sundarbans. It is a national catchment area, carbon catchment area. No valuation has been done. The last valuation that I saw was in 2014, and that data, I don't know if it's accurate or not. So no valuation has been done. On paper, we have a policy for the Sundarbans, for the catchment area, but it is just there. So we are not utilizing anything. It has a monetary value. We are not tapping into it. And unfortunately, everyone is playing their part. The private sector is trying to work as much as we can. The embassies, the CSOs are supporting everyone. But the Ministry of Environment itself is doing nothing. And these are baffling to us, the big question marks. For example, even in decarbonization, now to get the environment certificate, you have to give a statement on zero discharge. Now, when my factory is being measured on the carbon emission, zero discharge requires 3 times more energy. So how do I neutralize that? So these are fundamental questions we need to, and I think CARE can play a big part in these discussions. And the last point I want to mention is that there's a new, this is a bit off topic, but I think CARE can advisor in a way can play a big role, is that there's a new legislation being made by the Honorable Chief Justice. It's the Commercial Courts Ordinance. So this will be a game changer for Bangladesh. But unfortunately, there's a cap there on Taka 50 lakh, which cases can be heard there. So CSMEs will be excluded from there. And one of the things that we have proposed to the Honorable Chief Justice is that ADR should be, alternative dispute resolution should be included in this. And it will require a huge training program for the judges for the ADR to take place. And even there, I think CARE can play a huge role, because this will be a game changer down the line, especially with Bangladesh graduating and developing the overall business ecosystem. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Shams bhai, for all those advices and ideas and opportunities. I'd like to invite Monwar Hussain bhai to the table to join the discussion. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Great. Thank you.
It's working now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Monwar Hussain bhai, for able to join us. My question to you is about sustainability, but from a workforce perspective. And yesterday we discussed a lot about skills development and how AI and automation might require new type of skills to be required at the factory level. So I'd like to hear from you your experience of investing in workforce development. And we understand in Bangladesh there has been a lot of work in the TVET sector from the government, from ILO and from other organizations. But in your experience, what actually worked in terms of skill development?
Thank you. First of all, organizing such an amazing round table. My name is Mohammad Monwar Hussain, and I'm the head of sustainability for Team Group. Prior to that, I also worked for BGMA for nearly a decade. So I was fortunate to involve into many development projects with different organizations. So when it comes to green skills or sustainability-linked skills in Bangladesh, I think one of the things that we have not been very successful is attracting the right sort of people, right sort of talented in this sector. So even I studied in environmental science in one of the public university in Bangladesh. From my class, I think I'm the only one who come into this industry. So all my classmates, they have flown out to different countries and other sectors. So why they are not coming to this sector? I think one of the major reason is the industry somehow or the other have not been able to develop a conducive environment for right talent to work with. That's one point. Another thing is when it comes to sustainability, it is not a static area. It has been involved it's evolving every now and then. New things are coming in. For instance, Samsar was shedding light on the issue of carbon border adjustment mechanism and different sort of sustainability reporting. So ESG and other things these things are evolving and we don't have industry-ready product are producing from our educational institute. So that's creating a huge gap, and I can see that our people from Sri Lanka, India, they are coming in and they are getting this job. Very high value jobs are being taken over by them. That's one part. Another part, when we run a project, as Samsar was saying about different machines and technologies, we might have the world's best technology and the highest number of green factories, but if you enter into those premises, we don't have the world-class professionals over there. So that's kind of a huge gap, and where I think that we have a huge role to play. And it's not just about looking into universities. I think a major task can also be covered or leveraged from the TVET skills. So TVET is still in Bangladesh considered as third standard job. So I think it is also important that how we can re-energize our TVET institutes, how we can make strong collaboration with industry and academia, because industry needs something and institutes developing or preparing something else, that's not going to help the situation to develop. So we need more strong collaboration among industry and academia, so that the curriculums can be revisited, can be make more industry focused, so that we have industry ready graduates, industry ready technicians from the polytechnics, and also industry ready TVET professionals. So it's not a single layer thing, it's a 3-layer thing. That's one point. Another point is a major challenge that has not been discussed yet. That is, see, there are factories, companies in Bangladesh, like my colleague Mashuk is here. He's working for DBL, or I'm working in Team Group, is one of the biggest companies in Bangladesh. So we have the ability to maybe hire the topmost talents with a high package, and also looking into the designers and more value-added job. Even Zia Bhai has currently pointed out the issue of having the reskilling or right sort of people in the right place. But see, if a factory whose export portfolio is near about 5 million, and with a huge overhead cost, they cannot afford to buy professionals like us, and it's not going to feasible for them. So where CARE can intervene, maybe thinking of a model whereby you can develop a business model whereby you can have a chief sustainability officer maybe for 20 SMEs, 20 designers for 20 SMEs, 1 or 2 or 3 industrial engineer and lean expert for 20, a cluster of industries. If such sort of business case can be, model can be tried, then I think those small and medium-sized enterprises will be able to leverage those things. So we are talking about green finances. We do have a lot of green finances, but think of a factory where there is not an accountant is just handling everything. They don't have a CFO. They don't have any sustainability professional. They don't have any engineer. Just a technician is taking over with his indigenous knowledge and a little bit of training, is running the whole case. And if you go and give a list of due diligence for green finance, they will be just lost in translation. So they need to have a very small, crisp, in Bangla SOPs of how to access to those green finance avenues. And green finance and big brands, big banks like BRAC, who is very good at SMEs, they could have a green SME sales, whereby they can think of a group disbursement of green loan, because in sometimes the requirement is so little than the minimum ticket size. So that doesn't matches the demand and the disbursement. And it doesn't make sense for the banks also to go for that. So I think there's some sort of cluster-based approach should be taken to help, if not the CMSME, at least the MSMEs could be, supported. And there we will be able to break the vicious cycle of, I need money to be sustainable. And to be sustainable, I need a strategic connection and business with brands like H&M or Inditex. So it's a vicious cycle. So if you can, break one barrier of access to good capitals mean easy access, low cost, and then implementing sustainability, and then having the strategic connectivity with brands. And then the SMEs will also be medium-sized and big enterprises. So that sort of mechanism, we have to be very innovative, not just looking into policies, but we also need to look into the realities. And from that perspective, I think CARE has a very good, can play a very good role to support the MSME to get access into this sustainability, and also get into good strategic partnership with the brands, and in the long run be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Monar Bhai. And thanks so much for bringing a lot of realistic picture and talking about this medium-sized factories, which are probably 3,000, 4,000 in Bangladesh, and their reality is very different from teams or TBL. So we need to take that into high consideration. How do we take things forward from CARE's side? On that note, Mashuk Bhai from TBL, I guess my final question is, could you reflect on this sustainability ecosystem? And we talked about ESG practices.
Right.
In your organization, how do you take that forward, and what would be your advice for other factories in Bangladesh?
So it's about breaking it down as well. I mean, for example, if we are talking about our sustainability strategy, we have a 5-pillar strategy. It's people, process, product, community, and environment. So accordingly, we have divided into different focus areas. So that actually helps us have, a diverse focus. And also, if we just talk about, for example, just the word social, we can just talk about people, I mean, how we're investing in our people and forget the community. And in that particular case, there's a gap. So, but when we're breaking down into different pillars, different focus areas, that helps us understand it better as well. And for example, as we're talking about skill development, we can talk about our community pillar. So as our Chief Sustainability Officer stated yesterday in the first panel, so it's talking about how to have IBT centers, industry-based training centers. The advantage of those centers is that the training centers are within the factory premises. So anyone, whether it be refresher training for our own workers or other workers or other potential people within the community, so they can come in and they can do the training, and then they, at the end of the day, as end of the sessions, about 2 months, 3 months later, they are getting leaving the leaving the IBT center with certificates that has been endorsed by the NSDA, National Skill Development Authority. So that is something which is ready, and then they can whether join DBL Group or join any other company as well. So that's to address the skill gap. That particular issue is there. If you talk about on the environmental issue, if we're talking about, for example, in our product pillar, so we have circularity initiatives as well. And this is one of the things that we actually would say that it really helps that brands like H&M, who have their own circularity targets, this is actually driving circularity within Bangladesh. And as I would agree with Zia Bhai, that we are not going to be worried about AI taking over the jobs. We still see that if we're using generative AI, I'm asking for one small thing and it's giving a huge paragraph of things. I'm keeping on scrolling. So the normal conversational mode is still, that still is lively. Like we're asking a question, we're answering that particular chunk rather than an entire history of all the conversation together. Dude, I just need the digital answer. So it's not going to be something which is going to be taken over just like that. So in terms of circularity, that itself is creating another set of jobs. So we have the existing factories. We have our, for example, our recycling unit, mechanical recycling we're using. So that itself is catering to it. So it's something like an industrial symbiosis within the RMG industry. So we have our cut panel waste, which is going to the mechanical recycling plant. We have waste from our spinning mill as well. So these are going, and then it's converted into fiber, and then we're mixing with rock-on, depending on the different orders. And we're creating yarns from recycled materials as well. Where does the further industrial symbiosis come in? That's from plastic waste recycling. We actually had a program with H&M. So where we used plastic Coke bottles to produce polyester, and ultimately the final garment had about 20% recycled polyester. But making it in a higher scale, that becomes a challenge, because there are, in that particular project, that was very highly regulated. But if you're talking about mass scale, then we'll find that there is a challenge in Bangladesh, because there are children who are collecting the plastic bottles. So that will be a reputation risk not for the brands, that will be a reputation risk for the companies ourselves. So if this plastic recycling can be regulated as well, so that will really help us. That's creating a totally different industry. So we're not talking about just small scale recycling, but larger scale recycling. I think yesterday there was, if I remember from the panel that I was in, we were using about 37% of our plastic recycling, if I remember it correctly. So that means that there are tons of opportunities. Now, mind you, we're not promoting the usage of plastic. Already there's enough plastic within the country and within the ocean plastics that we were talking about. So these are the things that can be recycled and to create end-of-the-day garments from recycled materials. So these are the processes that can be there as well. So we can, for example, in case of IBT Center, care advisory services can, we can have the collaboration with them as well, so that how we can have, further expansion of our IBT centers. And for circularity initiatives as well, we can have case studies being done as well. So how this can promote circularity for Bangladesh. So that would be it from our part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mashuk Bhai. We are almost at the end of our panel discussion. To help me summarize, I'd like to request two of our speakers, Hashim Bhai and Fai Mashur Bhai, to help me summarize today's panel discussion. My first question to you is, Hashim Bhai, that essentially today we discussed about opportunities in green financing. And we talked about opportunities from the financial sector, a lot of readiness needs from the businesses side, and even if it's small businesses. And from Bangladesh Bank, we also heard there are so many opportunities and positive things about the policy frameworks,
Yes.
right? And obviously we talked about supply chain, we talked about opportunities in the garment sector, from workforce development to sustainability initiatives. What I would like to hear from you is, going forward in the next 5 years, where do you see the Netherlands Embassy's kind of strategy to support Bangladesh? Because Netherlands have been one of our biggest partner in development for so many years. And obviously the strategy is moving towards more aid to trade for aid.
Okay.
So in that theme, where do you see all these opportunities fit in?
Thank you, Naim Bhai, and thank you, Care, for inviting us. And this is sort of the connecting the dots. You said the blueprint of the circular ecosystem. So we already are very much embedded in this ecosystem as part of the Netherlands government and the embassy. We can see a lot of our partners already sitting here, and also companies from Netherlands, including Light Castle Partners, who is looking at Larive International, and Truvalu, who are very much contributing in this ecosystem already. And there are a lot of instruments that can be accessed that from the finance angle, as you said, which helps this to push forward the circularity agenda. Circularity for us, looking ahead, is mostly being the largest source of garment products from Bangladesh. Netherlands has that ambition to become fully circular in 2050. So those regulations, those practices are being promoted in Bangladesh equally through our initiatives as well. Where we see that the biggest challenge right now, because looking at the time ahead, a lot of has been discussed already. There is a challenge in terms of collaboration, because the design is happening in a different country with a different type of people, whereas we are manufacturing here in Bangladesh, and we are looking forward to doing the recycling here in Bangladesh. But when you do the designing, when you put a chain with a jacket, let's say, it's very difficult to separate these elements from those garment product and then bring those fibers back to the circularity, and then there is this challenge in terms of traceability as well. So looking ahead, we are working in this. We are engaged with BGMEA, BKMEA, and all the associations in terms of garments, as well as we are also collaborating with the large conglomerates who are in the agro sector as well. We are thinking of, we are already doing capacity development in terms of how the circularity should look like in coming days. And there are some stringent regulations that are coming from the European side. Then where we have to conform to those regulations as well. We can see increasingly tariff being imposed in one of our major exporting country, that is America. So the second largest exporting country or the European market has these regulations that we can take up, such as circular. These are all related to circularity and principles of it, and how to reduce the use of electricity, how to reduce the use of energy, and at the same time, how can we bring more of our industrial waste into this circularity. So that is where we are focusing on right now as the embassy, and we see CARE can be a very good element and push forward this agenda as well. Yeah, that is how I see it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asim Bhai. Final question to summarize today's panel discussion. Fahim Bhai, we have been talking about the role of international development and how the ODA, the development assistance, is decreasing globally. We have seen USAID shut down, and other donors are reprioritizing their funding from Bangladesh. And in that space, the next frontier, we have been talking about private sector development, them taking a key role in the growth of Bangladesh. My question to you is, are we asking too much of the private sector? Do we have the ecosystem for the private sector to really grow? And you've been a champion of the private sector, you understand the practicality and the policy as well.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, let me first apologize for being late here. I don't know what discussion has been in the morning thing. But like, of course, like there are other people from the private sector, Shams is here and all other kind of people who are here. I think this is something that we have been talking a lot about since the main theme of this is basically the employment, and particularly youth employment and unemployment. Somehow we need to realize, or the policymakers, politicians, and everyone needs to realize that at the end of the day, it is the private sector who can create jobs. Government actually can't create jobs. How much job they can actually create. So if this is the reality, I think the first thing that needs to be done is the philosophical thing that policymakers must understand, that they need to enable private sector. The problem becomes is that our policymakers think that all the private sectors people are actually here to kind of either dodge tax or kind of destroy environment, or kind of these are criminals. These are criminals who just want to kind of exploit the kind of resources of the country. So I think that philosophical thing first needs to change actually. Of course, there are people within our community who kind of destroy environment. I would not say destroy, but impact environment and all other things. And there are kind of development agencies and others who actually work with private sector for this kind of thing. Even the customers are actually now working on that. But that I think is very important to actually realize the actual value of the private sector. They are not only profit-making entities, they are also employment-generating entities. So I think that kind of philosophical thing needs to be there. And if you understand that, like a lot of other countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, those countries have realized that, and that's why they make things easier for them. Like the other day, one politician was actually saying that for every business you need 19 licenses. I think that is probably an understatement. I think a lot of the people here, you probably, particularly in the manufacturing thing, you need probably more than 100 licenses sometimes. So I think since we are actually going through a transition and other things, the biggest kind of reform, particularly with regard to economic and employment perspective, is to kind of deregularize. So we are a country too much regulated, and even with too much regulated, we know what is happening. If you go at the street, you will see all the kind of buses are actually emitting carbon. So what it has actually done actually, so too much regulation but no impact. So it is much better to actually kind of reshuffle all the things. And I also think that apart from deregulation, I think we have been discussing about the finance thing. I think we all talk about lot of things about SME and those things. Let us also be very clear that they are the actually main employment generator. So, but unfortunately, our banking or financial industry for last couple of decades or more, they have actually supported only the big corporates and others. So, Momen Bhai is here. They know much better than this thing. So I think this kind of like shifting about priority also needs to be there. And also sometimes SMEs not only need money, but they also need a lot of policy support. Say for example, this whole compliance issue we have been talking about. Now, Unilever can probably afford to do a lot of compliance because they have got a department dedicated resources for those. But think about a 22-year new entrepreneur. If you actually burden that person with over compliance, that you need to have every 15th of the month you need to submit VAT return and all those things. It can't be actually done by the very small young entrepreneurs. So what they do, they just don't want to formalize their business. So I think this is also important to understand the pain of those kind of groups. Of course, I'm not saying that the whole kind of sustainability, environmental issues, or all those will not be there. But let them try to kind of come to a position where they can be made accountable. But if you don't actually allow them to kind of build something, just imposing too much kind of restriction on them, actually it won't actually be helpful for the employment thing for our young generation. So I may be actually like a little bit kind of digressing, but just on one thing, I thought that I should actually say, because on the employment thing, let us also be mindful of the fact that every year there are 2 million plus people coming into the job market. And what is interesting is that out of that, almost 1/3 of the people, close to 700,000, they are basically coming out of, they are actually coming from universities, and 2,000 colleges that are under national university. We don't have jobs in the market in Bangladesh, no matter if we even grow 9 to 10% for next 1 decade. We don't have enough jobs for these graduates. We will have enough jobs for non-graduates, like drop out from class 5 or class 10. But unfortunately, we have been producing too many graduates over last 10, 15 years. So we can't actually, like our garments people like DBL, if you may actually employ 95% of your factory workers who are not graduate, who are basically non-graduates. But so these graduates, where will they actually work? So only thing that we have been trying for last kind of a few months and others is to kind of popularize that the graduates need to go out. And whenever I actually think about circularity, my thing is whether you are actually reducing the wastage. These people, these millions of graduates staying in the country is the biggest wastage of our national resource. So we need to kind of find way to actually send these people out. Not only to do cleaning in like Dubai or Saudi Arabia. We need to send these graduates or semi-skilled people to Japan, to South Korea, even to Europe. There are a huge amount of people working in the restaurants in Italy and France. So we need to create an ecosystem where we send our graduates, I'm not talking about academic graduates, I'm talking about like very general type of graduates. Send them out, don't like let their kind of youth getting wasted. So I think that policy needs to be there. And on that particular thing, my kind of request to the banking sector people is, this is the industry, the migration industry, which has been sustaining our economy, everything. No, I'm not discounting the government's contribution or whatever, but we all know how important our foreign exchange and our things have been, how important this migration industry they are. This is the only industry which has got zero support from our financial industry. There has not been any linkage of the largest industry in the country and our financial industry. We have not given any funding or lending, even at a 5 lakh taka lending to these millions of people who have gone out. For me, those are much more important SME entrepreneurs than kind of people like us. So we have been discussing or advocating to central bank that if central bank, we have a central bank people here, so central bank can have a kind of credit guarantee scheme for banks to kind of cover some of the risk. So that may be one of, I know that there is a Provashi Kalyan Bank who does that, but central bank should actually encourage all the private banks to actually give loans to these people, because if they remain in the country, we can't absorb them and their youth will be actually wasted. So even for a national level circularity, we need to engage them. So just send them out, get them more like productive, and they will contribute to the society and the economy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mashroor Bhai. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end to the panel discussion. First of all, thank you all. Can I have a quick round of applause for all the panelists? The next step from our side is very simple. We have launched this idea called Care Advisory Facility. Broadly speaking, I think all of you from the private sector has different experience of working with NGOs. And I've heard in single line, the main complaint is we're less flexible, we don't listen, we have our ideas that we want to impose. And the whole point of Care Advisory Facility is to turn it around. We'd like to listen to you and would like to solve problems for you jointly and collaboratively. So we'll have more one-to-one discussion going forward. And thanks again for this opportunity to engage with you. I'll hand over to the floor to our NC Simapu to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brilliant and amazing discussion we had. Now I would like to give a closing remarks, Mr. Ramji. And also I'd like to kindly request you all, after closing remarks, please remain seated, because we have a small ceremonial kind of things. So after that, we will go for lunch. Thank you. So over to you, Ramji.
Thank you, Smapa. And thanks, Naeem Miskat, for leading that such a insightful session, and thanks to all panelists in this roundtable. For me personally and for the CARE team, it's been an honor to have all of you. Yesterday, those who made it to the panel, 4 panels, and today to the roundtable, it's been an absolute honor to have all of you. So thank you very much. So when we plan this conclave, we had a simple question in mind, that how do we chart a course for development in Bangladesh at a time when some of the old models are in strain. So that was kind of a question we had in mind when we thought, can we have? So this is exactly what we are hearing last 2 days from all of you about the possibilities, the immense possibilities of that ecosystem approach which CARE has been advocating, the CARE Advisory Facility. And it's very encouraging to go out of the room today, I think, as my regional director was saying earlier, that the dialogue is not enough. I think as we close this conclave, the challenge before us is how we put that into action. Which means we have to forge genuine partnerships. We have to set some measurable goals. Are we doing what we are committing to ourselves? Basically holding ourselves accountable. That's the kind of a future we're looking at. It's like ending this session in such a positive note. As we all step out of this room today, we step out of this room with a lot of aspirations, hopes, and dreams that we'll be able to take this this ecosystem approach forward in the coming days. So I thank you very much for your some of the out-of-box ideas, your leadership, your energy in this room. I want to end this today with some gratitude or thanks to some people who made this possible. First, our technical partners, Devlan, Naim, Kasham, thank you very much, Naim, for being with us throughout last 1.5 years on various fronts, and especially crafting and co-creating this conclave. Light Castle partners, Bijon and teams, huge gratitude to you as well for being with us in the design. Partho and team from UFO is an amazing organization which has helped us organize this event. My team in CARE Bangladesh, such a vibrant team, without them this would not have been possible. So I think all through a lot of gratitude for my team on the ground. I am immensely grateful to my Chief Impact Officer, CARE USA, Ian Vale, for flying down from Nairobi all the way and spending time with us with a lot of insights. I will definitely put that into use. My regional director from Asia, Mr. Ramesh Singh, thank you very much for the strong and solid support we have been getting from you. And this 2 days has been possible because of the kind of trust you had in all of us. Thank you, leaders, again. And I will just try to quote the Nobel laureate Amartya Sen. He said, development is freedom. So I think freedom for businesses to innovate responsibly, freedom for communities to live with dignity, and freedom for Bangladesh to shape its own sustainable future. So on that note, we'll end this 2 days conclave. Thank you very much again indeed.
Thank you very much, Ramji, for an inspirational closing remarks. Now, at this point, I would like to welcome our CARE team to distribute and present a appreciation, a token of appreciation for all the discussant, for your insightful discussion. Please join us to put your hands together for the discussant and the speaker, please. And finally, I would like to request our discussant to have a group photo. Please remain seated. Thank you very much once again. And finally, we warmly invite everyone to join us for lunch.